local coordination that we have seen to work to try to bring clean drinking water back to Western North Carolina and effective wastewater treatment. We know that full recovery of Western North Carolina can't come until we make sure that people have plenty of clean water and that the wastewater systems are working. And right now you're seeing a coordinated effort to make sure that happens. This was an unprecedented disaster. The good thing is that Asheville folks with local, state, and federal officials and money from all around was able to put some resilience into this system that was effective when this storm hit. And I think it's important as we go system by water system across North Carolina, Western North Carolina here, that we think about the fact that we know water had never come before where it came, and we have to take that into account as we work to rebuild and repair these water systems. So today we're here to inspect. We appreciate the great work that's been done, and we know that this needs to be done as quickly and effectively as possible. I'm also here with my Department of Environmental Quality Secretary, Mary Penny Thompson. She's been on the job maybe a week and a half. Welcome to this world of work, Mary Penny. But glad to have all these elected officials who are here with us. And let me introduce to you North Carolina's own federal EPA Administrator, Michael Regan. Administrator.
Thank you, Governor. Well, thank you, Governor. And let me start by saying I want to thank Governor Cooper for his leadership. Unfortunately, I think, Governor, you've seen your fair share of disasters, and the Governor once again stepped in and is providing leadership to the state of North Carolina. I also want to thank Senator Tom Tillis. I believe I called Senator Tillis and left him a voicemail, and within a matter of 3 minutes or so, he called back and said, I'm in. I need to be in on this trip. And I'm thankful for Congressman Edwards and for the mayor as well. Listen, we all know that we're stronger together. This is a disaster that we have not seen the likes of before. And today has been a day of listening. EPA has been on the job, on site from day one. We mobilized some of our assets. So today we saw our mobile command center, and we took a look at what we're doing. The mobile asset that we have as a command center is the heartbeat of how EPA is responding. There we looked at how the hazardous materials are being grabbed up and taken out of our waterways and out of the harm's way of the folks here in Asheville. We left there and we looked at another mobile site that is prepared to do water quality testing. Priority number one is to get clean, quality drinking water to everyone who doesn't have that. And so as we look at private wells and the water system, we want to be able to provide every single asset we have to provide good quality drinking water. And then we just saw the damage that has been done to this system here as well. Listen, this is an all hands on deck approach, and we're glad to be here, not under these circumstances, but glad to be here with a show of force that we're going to do everything that we need to do until every single person has clean water to drink and a wastewater treatment system that provides a safe and livable environment for them. So thank you all. And with that, I'll turn it over to Senator Tom Tillis.
Thank you, Michael. It has really been a pleasure to work ever since your nomination hearing. I think we're seeing good work and the effort paying off in terms of having a good leadership at the EPA. In the Biden administration, I want to thank Governor Cooper. This is a very difficult time where, Governor, I think some people have misconstrued some of my statements to say that you weren't perfect. Here's one thing I'm absolutely certain of. Nobody's been perfect in responding to a storm, particularly one that hasn't happened like this in close to 500 years. We're going to work together. We're going to learn from this. But we've all got to be persistent. We've got to be patient. It's going to take weeks to get this water supply back online, but you're going to have the opportunity to work with the community to make sure that we get back to normal. We just have to have the right expectations ahead of time, but you can count us in and my colleague Chuck Edwards for doing what we have to do in terms of congressional action to work on a bipartisan federal, state, and local basis to make sure that North Carolina recovers and comes back stronger. And I'll turn it over to Chuck Edwards.
Yeah. Well, thank you, Senator. Governor, welcome. Thank you for being in Western North Carolina as much as you have. Senator Tillis, it's been such a great pleasure and an honor seeing you in this district so much lately. I think boots on the ground right now are vitally important. Secretary Reagan, thank you as well. How incredible it is to see such a cooperative effort in understanding the importance of us restoring this lake to the pristine condition that it was in before, and then ensuring that the water that comes out of it not only serve the citizens of Buncombe and Henderson County, but that we're able to turn the lights back on to our tourist industry, which we so vitally need here in Western North Carolina. As the congressman of this particular district, the one that I believe has been hit the hardest through this storm, I'm extremely interested in to see this system built back better than even before, and extremely interested to see our citizens and our tourists flourish and coming back to Western North Carolina. Thank you so very much. And now it's my honor to introduce who has been a very strong leader under unprecedented circumstances, Mayor Manheimer.
Thank you all for being here today. I'm also joined by our County Commissioner for Buncombe County, Brownie Newman. And we're so appreciative of you all coming here today. We just drove from Asheville all the way out here and saw places where people's lives were lost. And we saw incredible devastation that we have never seen before in this community. So our thoughts, our prayers are with all those families that have lost loved ones and the daunting task of rebuilding this community. And we're going to need that help, and we're feeling it. So thank you all so much for being here. The most vital asset I would offer at this point in time for any community is water. Our Water Resources Department has been working around the clock to restore water service with our local contractor partners, T&K Utilities, and we just saw the crew that finished the work at 1:30 last night. They're still here working. We were able to thank those folks. We also have Tanoka Construction, TP Howard, as well as the state and federal agencies, including the Department of Transportation, NCDEQ, the EPA, of course, the Army Corps of Engineers, and FEMA, just to name some of the agencies that have been involved in the response required for this catastrophe. As I said, we just visited the repaired 36-inch bypass line. I think everyone is going to now know what a bypass line is when this is all over. It was decimated by this storm. The repair of this transmission main that connects the North Fork, which we're looking at right now, that is what connects it to the Asheville water system. And you can see how far we are from the city limits. It's quite a distance. This is a significant milestone in our ability to begin the process of water restoration. The city has repair crews working across the city to find leaks and broken lines in other areas, and will continue to move forward in a safe and methodical process to ensure we have water to our system. And I'm going to leave the technical details to Ben Woody, who you all have been hearing from at the briefings, and he'll give more information about that tomorrow. I want to thank our dedicated Water Resource Department and Public Works Department. They have put their own lives aside and worked night and day to meet the great needs of our city. They have done heroic work. We have also benefited from the utilities across the state who have offered and provided their people and resources to support our needs, as well as FEMA and the U.S. Army Corps Engineers. Thank you. And I can't even possibly name them all, but for example, Greensboro's crew helped build the line back to Black Mountain, just as an example. And Administrator Regan, thank you for the EPA's support. This has been tremendous to have these experts here with us every step of the way, advising us on this complex system and how to complete this restoration. As we have done in the past, and as the governor mentioned, we did this dam project, $37 million dam project a few years ago, and thank God we did, because that was a vital piece of this. It could have been even worse. And we know that significant additional investment is needed to create a more resilient system. And we have those plans. We have those plans. They are costly, but we are going to ensure, and I am personally going to advocate to make sure that we get the funding to complete all of the pieces that we need to create a better and more resilient system to be able to withstand these events that we, in this case, couldn't even have predicted. Thank you.
Questions from media.
I do have a question.
Am I on?
I'm on the Quillen with the news.
Okay.
I heard y'all talking about a specific plan, something about half circles and the catwalk, and if that's been discussed in the...
You called the wrong person up to the line on that one.
Say hey
But
to you, that's
yeah, hey, okay, sorry. Do we want
This man right over
the
here.
man right here? We heard him talk about that. Yeah.
Good afternoon, everyone. David Melton, Director of Water Resources for the City of Asheville. The concentric circles we were talking about, if you see our intake, we're going to actually treat the lake to try to get the water to a treatable level for our water treatment plan. It's been like 17 days in, so bear with me. And we're going to do that in 500 feet swaths, and we're going to continue to do that until we can get the water where our water plant can treat it.
I'm not a water services engineer, but if you could tell me just a little bit more, like I'm 6 years old, how that will operate.
Basically what we have out here is clay particles floating. What we're going to do with the treatment is make those particles stick together and sink to the bottom, which leaves clearer water.
And is that a chemical process or?
It is.
Okay.
It is. It's the same chemicals we use in our treatment process. We're just doing it in the lake.
David, typically, and I know this is obviously it's hard to tell based on past storms and other areas in our country that have been affected, but when you have this kind of a situation where you're testing it every 500 feet, are you guys looking at past examples? Has this been done in North Carolina's history, in other states on maybe even the Southeast history?
It's definitely been done in other states. It's got precedence, so it's tried and tested, so we feel very confident with the process, and of course we have our good support with DEQ and EPA with us arm in arm as we go to this.
Just so people know the difference, if the process that you guys are not, if this hadn't been done, and we just let that sedimentation kind of naturally go down, what kind of a difference in timeline? How much is this helping? Because it sounds like it's helping quite a bit.
We're talking weeks, maybe months for it to settle out on its own. We're actually having, and this is going to be in the weeds a little bit, but the temperature of the water is changing, which slows that process greatly for that settling process to naturally happen.
And when you say changing, it's getting cooler.
It's getting cooler, and it makes it harder for that to happen.
Okay.
A question for Administrator Helene, if you don't mind. Greg with Mount Express in Asheville.
Yeah.
Can you just put this into context, this disaster? You know, you see many natural disasters, not only to the destruction in the community, but also to the water treatment facility, the reservoir, and the distribution system. Can you put it in context at all for us to help us understand how severe this is?
Well, it's devastating. As we look at storms all across the southeast in the country, we are seeing different intensities from different storms just destroy our infrastructure. One of the reasons that President Biden fought so hard with a bipartisan group of congressional representatives for the bipartisan infrastructure law is we knew these storms had the potential to come, and we knew that these facilities don't have adequate infrastructure to protect themselves from the intensity. It's unfortunate to say that, yes, we are seeing storms like this destroy property across the country, but when you look at a region like Asheville in the mountains, the terrain is different. I think that most of us don't expect to see biblical-like floods hit the infrastructure the way we've seen it. And so we know that we have to build back stronger. And I'm thankful to the President and his foresight that EPA does have $50 billion to invest in water infrastructure. We've had it all 3 years. And as we look at investing in areas like Asheville, and we hear of new engineering scenarios that we believe will make this facility more resistant, we now have some resources to match with the local solutions and the ingenuity to try to be better the next time around.
I wonder if, speaking particularly, we've won some awards for this new spillway and the dam design here in recent years, and I haven't really heard it put into context on how much that helped and saved our infrastructure as it is, but I just wonder if you could speak directly about the infrastructure, about this particular design, if there's anything that put that into perspective on how important was this design in helping in this particular instance?
Well, the design was extremely important. Before the storm, Asheville was producing some of the cleanest water in the country. Much cleaner than EPA regulations require. I think when you look at the engineering and the buckets I think there were 3 buckets. 8 total.
One flipped.
Only one flipped. So you can imagine if that design wasn't in place and you had 8 to trip instead of 1, how much damage you would have seen downstream of this dam. I mean, absolutely, the engineering matters. It matters that you have a thoughtful group of leaders like in Asheville that understand climate change is real. We're going to see more intense storms. So they made some early investments that have paid off, not just saving infrastructure, but saving lives.
Question for, I guess, David again. And I know I've gotten in trouble in the past for asking about timelines, or even a timeline of when you might have a timeline, so I'm not going to ask that. But I was wondering, from the point of this sedimentation testing and all that, once that's done, do we have a bit of a better idea kind of what we're looking at in terms of time from then, even from that point, or how many more steps even from that point, without it putting any pressure on y'all, because I know how hard y'all are working.
Right, and I appreciate that. I would like to have a timeline too, to be honest with you. But just to give you a little heads up of what's going to come out tomorrow, this is our main hub, right? This provides about 70% of the water to our customers and our communities. So we have to start here and work our way out in concentric circles and in steps. So we'll do step 1, step 2, step 3, and each step we'll have to pause, make sure everything in that step is good, because we know we're going to have leaks. I mean, it's obvious when you see the devastation. So we've got to clean up each step and make sure that step is whole before we can move to the next step.
Okay.
So it'll be very methodical, very intentional, the way we step through it, but it's going to take time.
Okay.
I have a question for, I think EPA Administrator Michael Regan. We know a lot of folks who are both relying on wells and who are digging their own wells, wild to witness. I'm wondering, what are the resources available for private well testing, because we know not all of these wells are equal in terms of water quality?
Well, absolutely, and one of the labs that I visited today, one of our mobile labs, is set up to do about 100 samples per day of private wells. And what we want to do is get the word out that we do have that capability. It's my understanding that in this area, maybe 20,000, up to 20,000 private wells potentially could have been impacted. We absolutely don't want the public taking the risk of drinking water out of these private wells without the testing being in place. And so we are asking, and we're working together, FEMA, our local and state health departments, EPA. We are asking for those who have private wells to contact their local health agencies or the state health agency, get the proper equipment to do the testing, and once that's done, we will test it for free. The turnaround is about 48 hours, so it doesn't take a long time, but I think that this is very critical because we want people to have confidence in their drinking water, and if we test that water and if it's safe, then we don't have another health issue on our hands.
One more question for David. Sorry, David, to make you keep going back and forth. When we look at this, I mean, it's beautiful water behind you. I mean, obviously, I'm assuming it looked vastly different more than 2 weeks ago. Talk to us a little bit about kind of what we're looking at here, because it does still look a little bit chocolate milky, but for somebody who has no idea what they're talking about, what are we kind of looking at when it comes to the quality that we're looking behind you?
Sure.
Physically, even.
When you see the reservoir now,
yeah,
you can see down about this far. Typically, you can see down about 10 feet and see fish swimming. It's that clear and that pristine.
Thank you all.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Appreciate it.
I'm more excited about this package too.
Hey.
Well, we're shooting at it full.
That good? That's good.
Well, yeah, because I was at 500 kilobytes, and I was like, hey,
What do you need to send out? At least 3.5. I feel like he wants to.
2.5
Yeah.
is probably preferable.
It's pretty good, dude.
Absolute minimum.
Yeah, yeah.
Anything above 4 is just rocket. It's as good as a satellite.
You've been out here for
Damn.
Yes, this is your first